Morning, sunshine.
Morning.
All
I have a
right.
small cup of coffee this morning.
America ended yesterday, and today we begin to discuss how to rebuild from the ashes. And so there's reporting out now that Donald Trump wants to found a. This is from the Washington Times, archived, of course. Just a quick thank you, Styx, for teaching me how to do this. Styx Hex and Hammer 666. Go check them out if you haven't already. Which all of the people in the chat I happen to know have.
Already do.
Because all of the people is currently Steve. Oh, there's Danny. Yay! Morning, Danny. We're always thrilled to see you pop in.
Yeah,
hope you got
always
that
nice
cup
to
of
have
coffee.
hot chicks in the chat.
Damn Skippy. And the next time you're in town, Danny, I will be available. We'll do something. We'll all get together. Real quick, Cameron, when Danny was in town, you had to go have dinner with she and Alex, right?
Huh? What? There's
Oh,
a
there's
whole bunch of
Krista.
background noise.
No, Krista, you're not chopped liver. I just don't know you're there until you say something. Until you've said something in the chat, all I know is how many people are watching. If you haven't raised your hand, I can't call on you for attendance. And Lindsay's with us. Cameron, your utensils are boring.
I don't see Krista being the first comment. Oh, I promise we'd never ignore you on purpose. That would never happen.
Oh no, Krista, there's 4 comments before you, sweetheart. So anyway, let's get into it. Danny says that Cameron has actually met Danny face to face. I have not yet.
Yeah, she's even more fun in person, I assure you. And she makes delicious food. It's a thing.
Okay. Well, I look forward to the next encounter. So, it is being reported that Donald Trump wants to create a new political party. Amid that, I'm hearing people say that he wants. Here it is. Has discussed creating a patriot party. We'll see how that branding might not work out, because quite simply, a quick DuckDuckGo search of Patriot Party shows that there's already a patriotparty.info from last year, patriotparty.net, officialpatriotparty.org. The patriotparty.info lists a few problems, and I actually agree with this right here. No more Democrats, no more Republicans. I'm all for that. And I'm afraid that the problem we're looking at coming up is we've talked about the 3-party problem, the 3rd-party problem on this show before. And it's so there, in theory, we have 2 big parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. And then every other party, there's several. The ones that spring to mind first for most people are the Libertarian Party and the Green Party. Those are the 2 big ones. But you can't forget, the left has a bunch of third parties. They have the Democratic Socialist Party. They have the American Communist Party. They have the Neo-Nazi Party. The right doesn't have a whole bunch of third parties like that. The left has a bunch of third parties. And yes, the skinhead neo-Nazi party is a left-wing party. They are a socialist party. They are indistinguishable in platform from the Democrat Party and the Democrat Socialist Party, with the sole exception that the neo-Nazi Party of America is a white nationalist party. They are not technically a white supremacist party, although they include many white supremacists. They are, in fact, a white nationalist party. Their political platform is not the extermination of non-whites. It is the idea that basically what they want is socialism, total socialism, real serious Marxist socialism, but only for white people, right? So what we have currently is referred to typically as a two-party system, but that's a misnomer. If we've learned nothing from the 4 years of Donald Trump, it is that the Republican Party is not a functioning party. Right? The problem with the Republican Party is not the principles that the party stands for. It's that they don't stand for them. And let me make a little clarification there. What I mean to say there is not that the members of the Republican Party, and more importantly, the elected officials, the elected representatives of the Republican Party, it's not that they don't believe in the principles that the party is meant to stand for or that the party claims that it stands for. It's that they are not sufficiently dedicated to those principles to defend them within the confines of their elected authority. The best thing we can hope for, and this isn't saying that there's not more that can be done. No, the best thing that could be done by a conservative party is to actively prevent the government from doing anything, most especially to prevent the Democrat Party from achieving any of its stated objectives. And what we've seen with the Republican Party for a very, very long time is that they will attempt to pursue certain objectives, and in exchange for some table scraps that appear to resemble those stated objectives, they will compromise with Democrats on things which are absolute evil. Now, amid those things, one of my big bugaboos is abortion. Because let me be very clear about this. The word abortion is no different than using coded language as a criminal to say, hey, I need you to take care of what's his face. I need you to go fit Jimmy the Nose with a pair of shoes, with a pair of cement sneakers. The word abortion still means murder. Just because you don't want the police to hear it on your tapped cell phone when you're ordering a hitman to go take out Jimmy the Nose doesn't mean that the thing you're telling Jimmy to do is not a murder. When you end a life without reason, in fairness, people who commit murders always have a reason to commit the murder, even if the reason is illogical or insane. Like, I don't want to love a baby. If you don't want to love a baby, I don't have a great deal of use for you.
Yeah,
because that's your base biological imperative. If you don't want to love a baby, there's something wrong with you as an animal. You're rabid. You're feral. You don't belong in the world.
Yeah, and ironically, feral animals will take care of their babies. It's a thing. So just a couple of things. The first is, we're not entirely sure if Donald Trump is going to do this whole Patriot Party thing, because he's kind of been knocked off every single social media platform. And while Parler has its hosting back, I still can't log on to it because, Apple and Google have said no. So, I mean, for all I know, this could already be done. Donald Trump could have announced it, and we don't know. And then the second thing, man, I think Mitch McConnell proved you are right, because boy, did Cocaine Mitch sell out fast. I think we can go back to calling him Mitch McCuckle. Because I think Rush Limbaugh puts it best when he says that Republicans are content to lose with grace and dignity and honor. They're okay with being the minority party as long as they can be seen as the good guys. Mitch can get bent. Yeah.
Yeah, no
Oh.
shit. Um,
So I go back to Ronald Reagan, and I'm probably going to go back to Ronald Reagan for pretty much the entirety of my existence. But Reagan said, the solution is not a third party. The solution is a revitalized second party. And I think there's a ton of analog between Trump and Reagan. And I'm not the first person to observe this, but Reagan was a cowboy. He was going to start World War III. He didn't know what he was doing. He shot from the hip. He was full of shit. And then, whoops, no, it turns out Reagan was right about a whole lot of things. And I mean, even down to the internals, where there were people within the Republican Party that didn't like him. They wanted, a safer Republican choice. And Donald Trump was the same thing all over again. So the whole third party thing, okay, here's my primary issue with having a third party and then a fourth party and whatever. We can look at governments that have got more than two parties. And it tends to not work out terribly well for them. I would tell you that part of the reason why England is far more socialist than us is because they've got the multiple parties. So in order to have a functioning government, the different parties are forced to form coalitions with one another, and they have to water themselves down. While I think life itself has a lot of nuance, and situations, even political situations, have a lot of nuance, in the end, the solutions are usually binary. You either believe that higher taxes is the solution, or you believe that lower taxes is the solution. You either believe that abortion takes a human life, or you don't. I've never bought into this, a viable third party would pull just as many votes from Democrats as it would from Republicans. No, it wouldn't, because we have Trump to use as an example of this. And while somewhere between 10 and 20% of Trump's voters were Democrats, only 10 or 20%, okay? So if we follow that math and we say that 2/3 of the Republican Party goes and votes for the third party, and only 20% of the Democrat Party goes and votes for the third party, the Democrats still come out on top. They're totally okay with winning by plurality and just governing ad infinitum.
well, let's back up off of the idea for a minute, because this is kind of let's say trending in the comments here. Lindsay says a third party is still going to be predominantly conservative or liberal, which just splits the votes. That's correct, and that's part of what I want right there, and I'll get to that in just a second. While I'm responding to Steve's statement here as well, the big parties already have practiced co-opting third parties, says Steve. None of them will really stand a chance. As soon as the LP, the Libertarian Party, was developing good numbers, everything was scuttled. So yes, a third party, a conservative third party, would split the votes. It would make it more difficult in the future for the Republicans to win. Now, think about it like this. Consider the last 4 years and consider the prior 8 years against one another. And what we've seen is, like I was saying a minute ago, the Republican Party nationally is so very willing, just like its leadership in McConnell, to just knuckle under to the Democrat agenda. So if we have a conservative party in the Republicans that can continue to win seats, but essentially just implements the leftist agenda a little bit slower, then we don't really have a conservative party to speak of. I've been saying for years, and I have always been right in what I was saying, but it's time to go further. What I've been saying for a long time is, Okay, let me back up just a little bit before I say this, because I keep hearing Tim Pool say that generally conservatives think that the left is misguided, and the left thinks that conservatives are evil. I'm going to amend that. I've been saying for years that Democrats are weak and Democrats are evil and Republicans are weak. And I'll back that up a little bit. We have one party who is currently, having originally been the arbiters, having originally been the defenders of slavery, the arbiters and installers of Jim Crow, the active, violent opposition of all civil rights movements, the original authors of the Defense of Marriage Act and the Don't Ask, Don't Tell legislation, right? We have one party that is those people. We have one party that is actively moving for post-birth abortions, where don't believe me for saying it. Go read the Virginia law that was proposed 4 years ago, when Ralph Northam got in trouble for saying, well, we'll make sure that the mother and the child are comfortable, and then we'll talk about the decisions. It's codified in the law. The law that they were trying to pass at the time made it very clear that if the mother was incapacitated, say, I don't know, unconscious from having been pumped full of pain drugs and enduring the pain and struggle of a delivery, that while she was incapacitated, the doctor could make medical decisions on her behalf, such as deciding that she shouldn't be a mother because she was physically, mentally, or financially unable to raise a child, and that at that point the doctor could terminate the pregnancy. Keep in mind, the language in that document that said at that point the doctor could terminate the pregnancy is literally including the moment after the baby is born. And it was real vague on how long that moment is. Are we talking they can kill the baby right up until the moment that they've cleaned it up? Or, we haven't vaccinated this one yet, so it's not a person for the government, right? And don't get off on some twisted bullshit. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm just talking about strictly the paperwork questions as far as the law is concerned. But so on the one hand, you have the party of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, that is currently, right? The party switched. The Republicans are the racists now. Really? Which party, which is originally responsible for, defendant of slavery, installed Jim Crow, opposed civil rights, and then the party switched. So obviously it must be the Republican majority in California that's attempting to install new segregation laws by repealing existing civil rights protections. Wait, is California full of Democrats? Is that the truth of the matter? Huh. I lost your video there, Cameron. So, one party is evil, but the other party is an inadequate foil to that party. So if splitting the votes ends the Republican Party so that we can replace it with a more functioning party, I'm all for it. But at present, I would rather see the country just go down in flames as the Democrats are allowed to do whatever they want. I would prefer that outcome to being represented by an inadequate champion in the GOP. When you look at the Republican Party, what you need to see is an inadequate champion.
Yes. Please, everybody, have your jokes at my expense. I missed part of that. My boss called, and this is my boss, so I took the call.
Okay, I said Democrats are weak and Republicans are cowards.
Then I heard you say you'd rather the country go down in flames under the Democrats. in all seriousness, that's where accelerationists lose me because, and this is part of what we were discussing in our show prep. I don't want to take the oh wow, hey, we're being pimped out again.
Bigfollows.com. Well, lol123 lol96 from Twitch. You just got a very, very rare banhammer.
Anyhow, but no, I don't want things to go down in flames because by any measure, the system that we have in place in this country has produced the most prosperity, the most wealth, the increase in life expectancy. Like it's fascinating to chart out that starting at around the year 1800, life expectancy consistently went up, and the only reason life expectancy has begun to trend somewhat downward, apart from the China virus, is because we've actually reached a point in our society where we're dying slightly younger than we would have because the majority of us get to the point to where we're old, we're fat, and we're happy. I'd call that good problems. So if we allow the system to be torn asunder, we have absolutely no guarantee that an equivalent or better system will replace it. And I would say that it's a near 100% certainty that what does replace it will be something worse. So all of it going down in flames, I just don't know.
Okay,
I can't.
I don't disagree with you on the principle of the matter. But here's the problem with your argument. It presupposes that not going down in flames is an option. And what I'm pointing out is that the question of whether or not the country goes down in flames as it is directed by leftist policies, anti-American destructive leftist policies, that is a foregone conclusion. At this current juncture, if nothing changes dramatically, basically we have a country going down in flames because of leftist policy, and we have nothing that is preventing that. So the alternative, the only possible alternative that I see, is to get rid of the inadequate champion. We need to fire the mechanic that's not good at keeping the plane in the air and replace him with one that is good at keeping the plane in the air. Now, that might mean that we lose some altitude in the interim, but the options are we keep the bad mechanic and just crash a little bit later than we would with no mechanic, or we get a new one in there and get the plane back on track and stop losing altitude. You're playing Diablo 3. And you pick up a necklace, and you have to choose between doing more damage or getting more life per hit. And the place that you need to draw the distinction is whether or not you can get that life on hit fast enough to regain your health and defeat the enemy, or if it just slows your inevitable demise. Right now, what we have only slows our inevitable demise.
Actually, so, I heard a theory, and it's simple. It'd be difficult to organize because it would have to happen in hundreds of precincts all across the country. But it goes something like this: you literally start locally. You find out exactly how many Republican officers are in your local Republican GOP. Like, let's say, I'm just going to pick an arbitrary number. Let's say there's 37 in Rockdale County. Okay. Well, then what you do is you guarantee that you bring at least 38 people with you so that you can always override the officers and over time replace them. And as you infiltrate the grassroots, the ground floor of the party, you stop feeding the top end because eventually the things that the local parties, the local chapters do will begin to filter up. And guys like our governor, if he wants to keep his job, will either have to acquiesce or get primaried. And there's a good chance that he'll lose that primary because we've built the base level out. I just, even the elections themselves, okay, and we just had the most fair and secure election of all time. Honk, fucking honk. Now, even that problem could be rectified by the thing that I wish I could remember the guy's name and give him credit. But I mean, it makes a lot of sense if we seize the little bit of control that we can. That's the place to start. And I'd actually point to Stalin, of all people. Stalin proved this in a masterful way. He would take any position that allowed him the ability to appoint, because he wanted to appoint his people. And he wasn't concerned with taking over all the big stuff right away. He was concerned with seating every single office that he could with his people, so that he had loyalists all over the place. And while I'm no big fan of, a communist takeover, the same basic tactics apply.
Wow, we're getting clown faces in the chat. That's fantastic, guys.
Oh yeah, I think it was my honk.
Yeah, of course. So I actually know most of the officers in my local GOP because I go to the local GOP meetings. And guys, start there. The bring 38 if there's 37 officers thing, that's not a But go to the meetings. Meet the people that are actually involved. Get involved. There's stuff you can do. Some of the stuff you can do, I'm not even talking about door knocking and phone banking crap. That's something too, but I go with the party and represent the party at vending events sometimes. I've gone and sat and worked tables at gun shows for the party. I've gone and done things like local fairs, the Cherry Blossom Festival. I was at the Cherry Blossom Festival with them year before last, I think, and I'll probably be there with them again this year. Lindsay says Covington got bluer and bluer with the movie union. Yeah, that's another one. At the last GOP meeting I went to, I got to talk to a representative, and we talked about that on the show a few weeks ago, and that was one of the things that I pointed out. You know what? There's talk now of getting rid of some of the tax incentives that have been used to draw Hollywood to Georgia. I say don't do that. Don't do that. Instead, make sure that those tax incentives. All right, guess what? This is one of the things that bites us in the ass. It's not illegal to discriminate against people based on their political position. Right? That's one of the things we're running into is we've got a bunch of racists who want to discriminate against white men. And so the way that they do it is instead of saying, we don't want to hire you, straight white man, they say, we don't want to hire you because you're a racist Republican bigot. Oh. So.
Yollywood.
You hadn't heard that one yet? That's actually a pretty standard industry term. I can't believe you haven't heard me say that. Anyway. They get to say, you're a racist Republican bigot. And we don't have an alternative. We don't have a recourse. The law doesn't allow for us to say, wait, isn't taking a characteristic like my political position and assigning to that characteristics on which basis you will discriminate against me. Isn't that what it doesn't? There's a word for that, right? It isn't there? Oh, it's bigot. Now, if it were the case that our current laws only outlawed discriminating against people for immutable characteristics like sex and ethnicity, right? And not voluntary behavioral characteristics like religion and sexual orientation, then you might have an argument there. But the fact is, the current law prevents you from making discriminatory determinations based on a person's personal choices, as well as their actual immutable characteristics. And so, maybe what we need to do is just add to that, you can't discriminate on political bases. Because make no mistake, where they are discriminating on the political basis, where they're saying where they're making the determination that they can discriminate against you for being a conservative, for having posted conservative media on your social media platforms, for having a Trump sticker on your car or something like that, they're not discriminating against you on your political beliefs. They're using that as a guise, as a mask, to discriminate against you for being a straight white male or any subcategory thereof. Right? Straight white Christian male, that's the ultimate evil. And if you check any of those boxes, then you get to get thrown under that bus, unless you go and castrate yourself before the masses, prostrate yourself to Moloch and make a child sacrifice.
Wow. We barely even talked about the third party thing.
No, that's all we've talked about. This is part of that. Now, the Donald Trump specific Patriot Party, you're right, we haven't talked about that much, but no, we've been talking about third party the whole time. Wow, Matty Parks just popped in. Joe Biden's been in office 1 day and gas already went up 40 cents.
Well, I mean,
that's right, Matt, because guess what? Our boys are going back to the Middle East. The Abraham Accords are about to be canceled. That shit's over. Peace of the Middle East, not in our time, not with Democrats in office, and not with Republicans in office. Maybe if we can get Don Jr. in there in 2024, we can go back to shutting down the military-industrial complex, and we can just, I mean, Biden's back, right? There's two things that Biden has been really, really aggressive about in his career. That's incarcerating black and brown people, and what's the other thing? Blowing up black and brown people.
Yeah, so speaking of that, did he already sign the executive order curtailing the Keystone XL? Because that'll do it.
Yeah.
If there's less oil.
Yeah, Steve says expect $5 gas again. Absolutely.
Alex has dropped something in the chat. No, Alex, I had an extremely long day yesterday. What is this incident?
Yeah, I did not see it. I know he signed like 12 executive orders last night. We'll start talking about those at the beginning of next week. I want to see how the first week goes, and then I'll come back and point to the predictions I've made and how they've all come true faster than I expected them to. They will not have. After the absolute speedball of a disaster that was Obamacare, it caught me by surprise, failing not differently than I expected it to, but faster. But no, I did not see anything about the international incident the administration caused their very first hour. I do find it amusing, however, that they swore in Kamala Harris before they swore in Joe Biden, which means that Kamala Harris was Donald Trump's vice president for about 9 minutes. So, yes, the first female vice president in U.S. history happened under the Trump administration, not the Biden administration.
Are you kidding? Zaluska says selling ammo next year $1 a pop. Are you kidding? That'll just be the new currency. That'll cost you $200 and 5 9 mils, please.
I've got a 5.56 here. I'd like to trade you for a cup of coffee. How fast would you like it? The administration renamed the U.S. ambassador to Israel into the U.S. I did see that. Yes, I did see that. The administration renamed the U.S. ambassador to Israel into the U.S. ambassador to Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. Obviously, they changed it back. Israel was pissed. Yeah, they were pissed. Because, where's John Kerry in all this now? Because John Kerry's the one that said there is no two-state solution. The left-wing position, it's not complicated. The left-wing position on Middle East relations is exterminate the Jews. That is the Democrat position. Just like with Obama, there's controversy on what Kamala put her hand on. Looked like a personal Bible on top of the one they used. Nothing more. And yeah, Alex, of course the media completely ignored it. Which, that's actually an interesting point, Alex. The media completely ignored it. There are some extreme theorists who believe that the media is completely controlled by the Jews and that's part of what all the evil is about. I might point to this incident and say I offer this up as counter evidence to that claim. Just saying.
Anyhow, buddy, we're long.
Well, I am.
Excuse me, sir.
You're right. That's the show. Let's put a pin in it. We will see you. Well, I will see you tomorrow for Firearms Friday. Y'all be safe out there and take care.